Welcome to the demo on the Remedyforce console, incidents, and service requests. In this demo, we are going to look at the Remedyforce console and how service desk agents can work on incidents and service requests. We'll start with logging in. In my Remedyforce org, I have set up my domain, which means that I have a specific URL to log into, and this happens to be my login URL. So I'm logging in from here. If you haven't set up my domain, then you can use the usual Salesforce login page, that is login.salesforce.com. I'm now at the home page of Salesforce. Since we're going to look at the console, I'll click on the Remedyforce console tab. So this is the console from where service desk agents will work on everything in Remedyforce. Anything that the service desk team or any IT support, HR support team needs to work on, any records, this is the tab from which they'll be operating, the Remedyforce console. So let's look at what we have in this console. In the header, we have this broadcast banner. I can see that there are 3 broadcasts here. And broadcasts are any news items that the service desk might want to communicate to the wider IT organization or HR organization. It's for communicating news on any ongoing outages or any upcoming outages or other events that may lead to unavailability of IT services or HR services and so on. Then here we have the view drop down, and this is from where we can access different modules or different record types. We've got incidents, service requests, tasks, problems, change requests, releases, broadcasts, service outages. These are the main records. You can pin any view. So here you can see that I've pinned incidents, and when you pin a particular record type, it is displayed by default when you log into the console or click on the Remedyforce console. You can also choose to display multiple views, which I've done in this org. If you don't enable this, every time you click on anything else, it just replaces the previous view. So I was on incidents earlier, now I change to change requests. If I click on problems, then the same view is replaced by whatever I click on. But if I choose to enable multiple views, which is quite useful, service desk agents find, then even when I click on anything else, I can choose to have more than one view open at a time, and which is quite useful to agents as they often work across incidents, change requests, problems, releases, tasks, broadcasts, and so on. Now in the main area, now I'm looking at incidents. I can choose to filter on fields. So for example, if I want to filter on status, I just have to hover my mouse over the header and I click on the filter icon that appears. It allows me to select specific status values. And when I click on apply, the view is filtered with just those records. And when a filter is active, you can see this icon enabled. I can also sort on columns. In fact, I can sort on up to 5 columns at a time. Let's say I want to sort on type first. So I click on type. I keep the control key pressed, and then I click on incident source. This is my second sort. My third one is priority. Let's say I take Q as 4 and staff is 5. The order in which I click these column headers, that becomes the priority order or the sort order for sorting these records. Filters and sort orders are stored in the database, which means that even if I log off and log back in, or if I log in to Remedyforce from a different browser, these will these will be carried forward to the next session. So there's no dependence on cookies for storing filters and sort orders. Then there's a search filter here. I can search on anything. I can search by record numbers, or I can search by anything. Let's say I search for a string, laptop heats up. It returns all those records that match the string. I also have the option of just enabling searching within the filtered view or all. So what is this filtered view? Here I chose the all view, but let's say I select something else. If I select service desk, then already there are a few filters applied on this view because I've chosen the service desk view. If I then choose within this view, then I can have further refined results within this view. Then we have got view customization. View customization allows an agent to customize the fields that are displayed on the console. The fields in which the fields that should be displayed for displaying the list view, that's what agents may want to configure or customize. So this brings up a list of all those columns that are available for selection. You can select up to 15 columns. Already 13 have been selected, and I can select a few more, 2 more. I can also reorder these fields. This decides the order of display of these fields here. In the footer, I've got page navigation, so I can go from one page to the next. I can go to the last page directly. I can go to the first page directly. There's an icon to refresh. Refreshing will bring any new incidents that have been created or any updates to incidents where some of these field values may have changed. I can also see that there are 75 records, of which the first 25 are displayed here. And now I can see the next 25 and so on. Records per page allows me to select or set up how many records I want to view at a time. If a record has an attachment and if the attachment field is selected in the list view, then just hovering over this U-clip icon allows us to view a list of all the attachments on that record. And from here you see the basic details about the attachment or the file. You can click on this link to view that image. So here it happens to be an image, but it can be anything. Or you can also click on the see all link to view all the attachments or files on that record. Also on the console we have got my workday. You can click this icon to enable or disable my workday. My workday displays a list of metric cards on the console. These metric cards display tactical metrics about what's going on in the service desk. These will be records of all those transactions or records that the service desk works on: incidents, service requests, changes, problems, releases, and so on. The admin can configure these cards, that is, they can set up the queries that populate these cards and even set up these colors. But agents have the option of selecting which cards to display. They can also choose to reorder these cards. So here I can see there's one card that shows 29 my incidents. I can drag and drop these cards to reorder them. Another way to reorder these cards is by clicking on the gear icon and then changing the order here. Here I also see all the other metric cards that are available for me to display in my workday. Now let's look at the broadcast banner. I can see that there are 3 broadcasts that are scrolling here, If I click on the broadcast banner, it shows or it displays a list of all the broadcasts that are currently active. It also shows the priority each one, and if I click on any broadcast message, then in the section below I see a few other details such as the date and time that the broadcast was posted and possibly some more details. Now let's go ahead and create a new incident. I click on the new icon or the new button. Client ID is the identity of the person who's affected. Remember, there are two fields here in the client details section, client ID and account. Client is the person, the identity of the person who's affected by the issue or the requester if it happens to be a service request. Account is the identity of the company that the client belongs to. Now, if Remedyforce is implemented in a company where the only users are the company's employees, then they may choose not to use account at all, which is why account is not a mandatory field. But if a company uses Remedyforce to serve multiple customers, typically these could be different business units or different external customers, then they can create accounts for each of those, and then they have the option of also selecting the account on the incident record. Here I'm going to skip the account and let me enter a client. There are two ways of entering the client. I start typing the name of the client, and through type ahead I can select the record. Another way is to click on the lookup and select from this list. I can even search here. If the client does not exist, I can also create a new client record on the fly. Then there's template. If you create an incident from a template, then it automatically fills up a number of fields on the screen. Templates are a great way of standardizing information on incident records. Category allows us to categorize what does this incident belong to. I can invoke the lookup, and when I do that, it displays the category tree as a hierarchy. So let's say I choose hardware. I can search a string and then select from the result set. Description, this is where I describe the incident. Incident source is the source of the incident, where did this incident come from. It can be live chat, chatter, it can be email, it can be a personal visit or a phone call, it can be from self-service. Some of these values are set up automatically depending on how the incident is created. So for example, if the incident is created from self-service, then self-service is populated automatically. We leave resolution blank when the incident is created. Impact, choose the impact from this pick list, high, medium or low. Urgency, select the urgency of the issue. Priority is the next field, but you cannot enter priority because priority is determined or calculated automatically based on impact and urgency. Priority has a matrix stored in Remedyforce, and admins can configure that matrix. Depending on the values of impact and urgency, priority is calculated automatically. The status remains open when an incident is created. We leave all other fields blank. If we want to, we can select the name of the business service as well as the configuration item. So I select this laptop model Dell Latitude E6400. If there's an outage associated with this incident, then you can enter these fields such as outage start, and when the outage ends you can update the outage end. And finally, queue and staff. When an incident is created, if you don't know the queue and staff, you can leave them blank and save the record. You may have noticed that as I entered the category and the description, this section popped up in the footer. These are called smart suggestions. Smart suggestions nudge the user or the agent towards resources in the system that may be able to help him to resolve that incident right away. So these can be knowledge articles, and these records are actually organized by the record type. There are knowledge articles, then there are other similar incidents. I can look up other similar incidents and link them to this incident. If sometimes it so happens that there may be duplicate incidents for the same issue, or there can be an outage on an IT service, and when that happens, a number of impacted users may submit incidents about the availability of that service. You can link these multiple incident records here and create a parent-child relationship. Once you select any record, you can select the record as children or as a parent. There can also be templates. If there are templates that may be sufficient to address this need, then you'll also find results in the templates tab. And finally, broadcasts. If there are broadcasts that may be related to this incident, depending on how the issue is described and depending on how the broadcasts are described, then you'll see results appear in this tab as well. Now let's look at smart views. When you click on the Smart View tab, it shows a graphical description of this record and all other records that are related to it, such as any tasks that may be related, any CMDB records, and any others. So here I can see that this incident is related to 2 tasks. There's one CMDB record and there's a problem. And if I click on these records, it displays additional details. So when I clicked on the problem, it shows that there are 3 incidents that are further related to that problem. There's incident number 169, which happens to be this record, and there are 2 others. So it turns out that there may be other incidents that may be similar to this one, and there's a problem investigation that has been created to address the root cause of this incident. You can, from here, from Smart View, you can click on any record and the record details appear in this section. If the user has access to edit that record, then they can go ahead and update the record from here. Now let's look at queue and staff. Here this record is already assigned to the service desk queue and a staff member, but if I want to reassign them, I can reassign, and from this view I can either select a queue, or if I want to do queue and staff assignment together, I can click on this icon and it shows me the members of that queue. So from here I can directly assign the queue and the staff. Now let's look at a few other actions that a service desk agent can perform. Responded is one action. When they click on respond, it fulfills the condition necessary to mark the incident as responded. This is important from a service level management standpoint. If there's a response SLA set up on this incident, then clicking on responded actually stops the SLA clock for responses. Another action that can be performed from here is to submit this record for approval. Now on incidents, usually there are no approvals, but if you have set up an approval process, then you can submit this record for approval from here, and then it follows the approval process. Cloning is about copying this incident and creating a new one, and there are other options such as close and quick close. Clicking on agent tools also provides a few more options. Clicking on knowledge search allows the agent to search the knowledge base associated with this incident. I can also create a knowledge article right from here. There's also a CMDB Explorer. CMDB Explorer is a graphical representation of any record and its associated records, and the relationship types. Now, CMDB Explorer is best seen in CMDB. Here, there aren't too many relationships, so it's not the best way to explain CMDB Explorer here. CMDB actions can be invoked only if you have enabled Remedyforce client management or integration with BMC client management. If you have chosen Remedyforce client management premium or premium plus, then CMDB actions allows you to perform remote control actions. There are several actions that are a part of Remedyforce client management. Incident matching is another common process on incidents. This is done to link an incident to other incidents, and you can create a parent-child relationship between two or more incidents. The advantage of doing incident matching or such linking is that if there are multiple records for one issue, and if you select one parent and all other incidents as its children, then as soon as the parent record is closed, the child records are closed automatically. Can save a lot of time, especially when there are many incidents that have been created associated with a service outage. Incident manifest is useful if there are multiple tasks on an incident. Sometimes performing the fulfillment actions on an incident may not be as simple as the service desk agent performing those actions. There may be a dependency on other individuals or other teams. So, one way is to reassign the incident to a different team or a different individual. Another practice is for the service desk to continue to own the incident but create tasks for multiple actions. And these tasks can then be assigned to different teams or different individuals on the same service desk team. Incident manifest allows you to set up the order of those tasks. So here I've created two tasks on this incident, and the incident manifest allows me to create the order of execution of these tasks. Now let's look at the activity feed. The activity feed allows you to perform certain actions when the incident record is still displayed without losing sight of important fields such as category, description, client, and so on. The agent can perform a few actions from the activity feed, such as adding a note. You can add a note from here and save it. They can upload attachments right from here, or they can send emails. When they send emails, the email is sent to the end user, and the agent can also choose to copy others on that email. The email can be a free text email, such as this one, or they can also choose email templates. There are certain email templates that are available out of the box through Remedyforce, but the admin has the option of creating other email templates through Salesforce setup. That's about the activity feed, and then the other slider here is services and CIs. Remember, on the first page, the incident form, we had the option of selecting the service offering, and the configuration item or asset. We selected the CI or asset here, but this is a second place from where you can do the same thing. If there are multiple CIs and services associated with this record, then they can be added from the additional CIs and services section. You can also launch the CMDB Explorer right from here. Now let's go to the Details tab. On the Details tab, you have, this is from where you can create relationships with other records. For example, tasks. I've already created two tasks here, but I can go ahead and create more tasks and link them to the incident right from here. This is the second place to submit a record for approval. We also saw it was there here right under the actions menu. Linking to knowledge articles can be done from here. Linking to CIs and assets, it can be done from the CI and asset slider right under the activity feed, and this is the second place from where it can be done. You can create and link change requests from here, or you can link this incident to an existing change request. You can link to problems or create a new problem and link this incident to it. And you can upload files. Any files that have been attached by the end user will automatically appear in this list. Any files that the agent uploads will also be displayed in this section. And finally, there's an incident history section. Salesforce allows us to track certain fields on every object. So depending on how the admin has chosen, or the fields that the admin has chosen to track, any update to those fields will be logged in this section. Now let's look at multiple record editing. From the console, I can select multiple records and perform a common action on all of them, such as changing the owner. I can assign these records to me, or I can assign to others. When I assign to others, I can choose the queue and the staff. I can link the selected records to a broadcast, or I can update a field on all of them. So for example, if I want to update the status of both of these selected records, I can update it right from here. So far we looked at incidents. Incidents are used to report a disruption of a service, whereas a service request is a request to request for something new. It may be a mobile phone, or it may be access to a business application. It's of the nature of a requester requesting for a service and the service desk team responding with whatever actions are needed to respond to that, to fulfill that request. And these actions can be getting the request approved and then creating and assigning tasks to different teams to execute different parts of that fulfillment process. So let's create a new service request now. To create a new service request, I click on the new button on incidents. I enter the identity of the user. It's Derek. And in request definition, I select request mobile device. That's it. I don't need to enter anything else on the form. I save this record. When I save the record, a form pops up, and this form has all those input questions that must be answered to complete the service request. There's a separate UI for the admin called the service request definition or service request designer that allows the admin to set up all the fields or questions on this form. So here it appears there are just a couple of fields that must be entered, the date required and the quantity. It tells us the price per unit of this item. Now, because this is of the nature of a device that must be issued, there's an approval process. The service desk agent knows that they must submit this request for approval. So they can click on actions and submit the request for approval. Now, to know what's happening on the approval process, click on the details tab, and here in the approval history you can see what's going on approvals. As I said, there's already an approval process that has been set up that automatically routed this approval to someone. Here it appears that it's been routed to Ravi. Ravi admin happens to be the user through which I have logged into Remedyforce. So I can approve or reject this request right from here. But if it were not, then Ravi if the user was someone else, then that person would have to log into Remedyforce and approve or reject the request. So these are the three actions available: approve or reject or reassign. If I want to approve, I'll click on the approve reject link. If I want to enter any comments, I can do that, and I click on the approve button. If I want to reject, I can click on the reject button. Let's cancel this for a moment. Let's say I don't want to approve this, but instead I want to reassign this approval to someone else. I can click on the reassign link, and then I can invoke the user lookup to reassign this approval request to someone else. As I reassign this approval request, and since I reassign to Nikhil, he must now approve this request. Now after the approver approves the record, then it comes back to the agent. The agent must then perform the fulfillment actions such as issue the device or grant access to an application, whatever was the request for. And once that is complete, then they can come back to actions and close this request. And in closing, they can update the closure category and save the record. In a number of service requests, the request definition may be set up in such a way that after approval, one or more tasks or change requests may be created automatically from the service request. So this is all set up in the service request definition. If that is so, then depending on how it is set up, if an approval is required, then after approval is done, the change requests or the tasks are created, and those tasks are created and assigned. You can configure to assign them automatically to specific teams or individuals or both, and then they must perform the fulfillment actions. And after they have performed their actions, then the service request assignee can come here and close the request. That brings us to the end of this demo.